Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw. So this photograph is titled Fashionista.
Okay.
And it's so I'm going to ask something. Is this done with with your phone or with just a camera?
That would have, that's a good question. It was probably done with a camera back then.
Yeah.
This photo was taken during my last trip to Europe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was quite a while ago. And, I think the pandemic kind of comes back a lot within the photos that I sent you. Not that the pandemic is relevant to
Mm-hmm.
obviously when the photos were taken, most of them, but I love traveling. So a lot of the photos I
Mm-hmm.
sent you are about my travels, whether they're alone or with a friend or with my family. So this one was with my family. This was with my son. This photo is of my son
Mm-hmm.
at a fashion museum. And again, I guess I have this business side of me, but I have this creative side of me. And
Mm-hmm.
with the creative side, fashion for sure is part of it. I believe that fashion,
Okay.
it's not just about the aesthetics, but it's about creativity, whether how you put together an outfit or as a designer, putting together
Okay.
colors, fabrics, textures. There's so many components to fashion. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so that was,
Well, so
I was like, we got to go to this museum.
so first of all, what city is this museum in?
It's in a small town in Spain. Sorry, I
Oh, in
don't.
Spain.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the Balenciaga Museum.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah.
So your son is standing, like you're just shooting straight on, and
Mm-hmm,
you see his whole body. Behind him is a mirror.
mm-hmm,
The light is incandescent from above, so it's a kind of, on the one hand, it's quite soft. So he's got perfect skin, perfect hair, this gray fabric that's ballooning around him like a cape or something and
mm-hmm.
tied around his neck. He's looking at you with a very neutral expression. The floor has checkerboard black and white tile, and the actual image itself, there's not much color except for the skin. And behind, on a coat rack or something, there's like what seems to be a shirt or a blouse or a skirt or a jacket. It's got a bit of pink, but with satin.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like, now that you mentioned that it's kind of in a museum space, there are some things about it that are kind of museum-ish, in that everything's well placed, and there's in the reflection you can't read what it says, I don't think, but there's some text and some. I guess it's describing the display or the installation or whatever it is. So why don't you walk us through this image?
Well, basically, at the museum, they had a section where you could try on different outfits. So both my kids
Okay.
were willing guinea pigs, or very
Uh
happy to
huh.
try on the different outfits for their mom to take photos.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was, for my son, who, is a very, he's 16 and a half now. So this was a long time
Okay.
ago. He was much younger back then. Just gave him an opportunity to try on some different fashions, things that he would never wear in real life. But, I'm
Right.
very
Right.
happy
Right. Right.
that he was open to doing so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that you have this creative side
hmm
versus this business side. I have no idea what is your creative side.
Okay.
What is that?
Well, if we go back to our high school days, I was
Yep.
heavily involved in theater and performance.
Mm-hmm.
And to be
Mm-hmm.
honest, it probably would have been what I had would have pursued had it not been for my very traditional Chinese parents who,
Mm-hmm.
kind of, yeah, put their feet down and said, that's not the way to go. so,
Okay. Okay.
so I did kind of lose that side of me to a certain extent. I mean, I did, do some like extra work on camera. When I was older, I went into journalism actually,
Okay.
and that's kind of when I was introduced to voice work. So we're talking about the 1990s. And then
Mm-hmm.
I got out of it. I went into writing, communications, public relations, and then I guess being a responsible adult, I got into a lucrative line of dental sales, and I'm still doing that, and, it pays the
Okay.
bills very nicely, and I love my
Wow. Okay.
customers, they're great. It allows me
Hmm.
to interact with people, which I love as well. But for many years, I had this, like, biting desire
Pun
to
intended.
yeah, use my voice again. So,
Okay.
and I guess being a busy mom, being a busy professional, it was just yeah, it was kinda, like, in the back of my head. But then my
Sure.
daughter, who is also extremely creative and artistic, she really wanted to pursue the acting thing, and so she
Okay.
motivated me to start my
Oh,
journey. Yeah.
nice. How beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting? So I had Stephanie Green on the podcast,
Mhm.
and now that you mention it, isn't it interesting that there's this sort of group of us who like, I don't think our high school is especially oriented toward the arts at all,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And yet there's a group of us who kind of, like for me, I was in the hard sciences. Like that
Correct.
was my thing
Yeah.
until CJEP, and then completely dropped it for creative writing and then performance. And so you had shut down this creative side of you to kind of be responsible and to make a career and earn a good
Mhm.
living. And beautifully, your daughter. So is it that your daughter gave you the kind of the permission or the impetus to just say, hey, I'm going to go back to voice work because there's something there that really kind of motivates me and captures my. So why don't you kind of dive deeper into that? What has that meant for you to kind of rediscover your voice?
Well, for sure, it's a journey, and a lot of people tell me, "Oh, yeah, you have a great voice, you have a lovely voice, I can see you doing that." But it's so much more than the voice. It really is it's voice
Hmm.
acting. So I've taken, like, a
Right.
ton of classes to kind of reintegrate myself, and the style has changed from back in the 1990s when I was kind of in that world. So
When
much has
people didn't
changed.
speak
Sorry?
clearly and that we spoke differently back in the 90s. Like
Yeah, yeah, the style
we
the
weren't
style
using
now
consonants.
well, right now, the style is, they call it conversational, but basically, half the time, you just need to kind of sound like you're talking to your friend and not sound
Okay.
like you're selling something, even though you may be.
So you're doing voice work for what? For TV commercials? Like,
Well, like I said, I'm kind of new back into it, so, this is the
okay.
beginning of my journey, and most of the work I've been booking is, le e-learning, actually. So it's,
Oh, okay.
it's
Okay.
internal training for employees.
Yep.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah, I have done a
Both English
commercial,
and
but
French?
I am doing English, although technically I am marketing myself as bilingual, but what I will accept, to do in French is very limited. I'm
Right.
fluent in French, but it is my second language, so
Sure.
yeah.
What about Putonghua?
No.
Awesome.
I do speak some Mandarin. I would
Okay.
say I speak basic conversational Mandarin, but I'm not advertising myself as
Sure.
yeah, but sure, I can say people's names,
I love it.
pronounce certain
I'm
things.
not. I'm not putting you on the spot. Look,
Yeah.
with all due respect. So what else would you like to say about, like, so kicking off our conversation with a photo of your son,
Mhm.
who it's a funny. The funny thing about images is that you give me a bit of the context, and then I look at it, and then I want to read into what I see. But what do you want to convey to a listener to this? Like, why start with this image?
Well, it reflects, I guess, a moment in time when we could travel freely. Like, I'm way overdue to return to Europe. I'm like dying to go back, but
Mm,
with all these travel restrictions, and, also not wanting to catch COVID for different
Right.
reasons, including my voice career, because, like
Okay.
if you're sick, if you're coughing, your throat is sore, God forbid you get ventilated, these things can
Right.
be, pretty detrimental to a voice actor.
Huh.
So for sure, my travels have, let's just say I haven't traveled much in the past 2 years, and
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that.
I pay attention to how people speak and choose words and all that
Mhm.
stuff. And how far away is somebody to your life who has had COVID?
I know a lot of people at this point with Omicron who have had
Okay.
COVID. I do know
Okay.
some who were sick, sick enough, not no one close to me having been hospitalized, but I do know people who have had either family
Mm.
members hospitalized or even some who have passed away, not
Oh, wow.
necessarily in
Wow.
Canada, but
Hmm.
yeah, for sure. So it's
Okay.
affected a ton of people.
Yeah. So like listening to that,
Mhm.
just in the like 20 minutes that we've reconnected, you've used the word travel maybe 29,000 times. Like here is somebody who wants to
Oh my
travel.
goodness, I really do. Oh, that's probably one of the most difficult things for me that I haven't been able to do because every year.
Wow, look at you. It's like it's a pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really
Yeah,
is.
okay.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that, I'm fully vaccinated, so is my family. I'm
Mm,
hoping the government will lift these restrictions
yeah.
that for at least for the vaccinated, that, we can travel without
Mm-hmm.
the fear of being caught in another country, say we test
Right.
positive and not be able to come back.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. When was the last time you were in Hong Kong?
I've never been to Hong Kong, actually. I've only been to Asia one time, which was Thailand, and that was many years
Okay.
ago. Oh, actually, we did stop at the Hong Kong airport. That was one of our,
Okay. That's
routes to,
nice.
yeah.
When was the last time you spoke to somebody in Hong Kong?
Well, I guess, that would be you.
I'm your
Oh,
first?
to speak, well, I do have a friend from university living in Hong Kong, but we don't really chat over the
Okay.
phone. It would be more.
Okay. Nice. Okay, let's move on to the next photo.
Sure.
Okay, hey, sure. I mean, would you like to stay with this photo again? What's your son's name?
Matisse.
Matisse.
Yes.
Well, there's a name.
Yeah.
I've seen. Well, okay. Look, I haven't met your children. We haven't spoken, and so I know I remember you referencing Matisse,
Mhm.
but it wasn't necessarily clear and present in my mind that that's your son's name. What a name to choose! Wow, look at you. Love it.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to the next photo. So, is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So, if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw.